You might remember that when Jehu was anointed as king over Israel, his first act was to bring about judgment upon the evil king of the north, King Joram, who was the son of Ahab and Jezebel. That was part of keeping God's promise to wipe out the house of Ahab. He had to go. Likewise, the king of the south, Ahaziah, was also a descendant of Ahab because of that famous intermarriage. Do you remember? Ahab had a daughter named Athaliah. She moved down south and married the king down south, and they had a son named Ahaziah, and he took the throne. So both the northern king and the southern king were descendants of Ahab, and therefore they both had to go. And they did. As we come now to chapter 11, we come back to the south, that is the kingdom of Judah, and we find out what happened when evil Ahaziah was killed. Who stepped into the power vacuum? Listen to this. When Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to destroy the whole royal family. So this wicked woman wants her turn now to sit upon the throne in Judah. She was a daughter of a king, King Ahab, up north. She has been a wife of a king, King Jehoram. She's been the mother of a king, King Ahaziah. But now that Ahaziah has died, she decides it's her turn to rule and reign. With his death, she seizes the opportunity and seizes the throne and begins to wipe out every single member of the royal family who could possibly have a claim upon it. Then we read about the courage of a remarkable woman, Jehosheba. She sees this situation unfolding, she sees it clearly, and she acts courageously. I think she's one of the unsung heroes of the scriptures. She is sister of that murdered king, King Ahaziah, and she takes Joash, the son of the king, into hiding, realizing that all the royal princes are about to be murdered. We read that she put him and his nurse in a bedroom to hide him away from Athaliah so that he was not killed. He remained hidden with his nurse at the temple of the Lord for 6 years while Athaliah ruled the land. During those years, this remarkable woman and the high priest of the true temple of the Lord down there in Jerusalem, they conspire together to arrange the return of the rightful king, the only surviving son, to take the throne in Judah. This boy, believe it or not, is actually the last descendant of David who has not yet been killed. If Queen Athaliah succeeds in snuffing out the entire royal family, do you realize she also succeeds in smothering God's promise and his ancient redemption plan, which has got to go through the line of David to arrive at King Jesus? This woman is an instrument of Satan, seeking to thwart the plans and purposes of God. However, by God's grace, in the 7th year, Jehoiada, that is the high priest of the temple, he sent for the commanders of units of 100, the Karites, who seem to be, I think, particularly the royal guard, and the guards in general, who would have been the palace guards, and had them brought to him at the temple of the Lord. He made a covenant with them and put them under oath at the temple of the Lord. Then he showed them the king's son. These people have all had 6 long years to see the effects of this evil queen in office. How it must have delighted them to find out not only is there the potential for an uprising here, this would in fact be a totally biblically permissible plan. Get rid of this evil, illegitimate queen, this direct descendant of Ahab, and station instead the legitimate son who ought to be on the throne, the son of David, back on the throne. The high priest then takes the boy and leads a coronation ceremony with guards stationed all around the temple grounds to make sure that it will all go off without interruption. Jehoiada brought out the king's son and put the crown on him. He presented him with a copy of the covenant and proclaimed him king. There is beautiful symbolism in this ceremony. Even the king is to be constrained by the truth of God's word. They anointed him, we read, and the people clapped their hands and shouted, "Long live the king!" This is not simply a performance. This is a real prayer. And they will need the Lord to answer, because here comes the evil queen. When Athaliah heard the noise made by the guards and the people, she went to the people at the temple of the Lord. She looked, and there was the king, standing by the pillar as the custom was. The officers and the trumpeters were beside the king, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets. Then Athaliah tore her robes and called out, "Treason! Treason!" Now here's a question. Is it treason if the person they are rebelling against has no right at all to the authority they have claimed for themselves? This is not treason, but a triumph of the truth. The evil queen is killed, and the newly crowned king reigns in her place. He was, we read, 7 years old when he began his reign. There are similarities here between this and a New Testament story of when an evil, illegitimate king sought to destroy someone who he saw as a threat to his authority. This man, Joash, was a baby when he was taken into hiding, right? Revealed when he was 7 years old, but a baby when he was taken away. In the same way, Jesus was taken by his family into hiding as a baby. There is a scene here where everyone who is on the king's side celebrates his public crowning, and the evil that opposed him is destroyed. That scene is yet to play out in our story, in redemption history. But listen, one day, every eye will see, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father. And on that day, all those who oppose him will be cast out of his presence and left to their punishment forevermore.